What do you think is the biggest challenge that you are facing today?
It would be about staff and physician wellness. I think that we're, like many people during this pandemic, the duration has been, and the intensity has been such that it's really taken its toll on people. So very concerned about mental health, physical health of our people here, and what this is doing, in the long term for them, and kind of how much more can we ask people to do? We're asking a lot of people, so that's a real challenge. How to bring in supports. I mean, it's in non-COVID times you could bring in more reinforcements. There are just not people out there right now to help. We can't just go and hire. I mean, of course I'll try and hire any more people, but they're just not existing, and people are leaving the healthcare professions because it's such a difficult time right now. So that's my the sustainability from a wellness perspective for the system now and going forward.
Yeah, that is a real challenge. How much longer can we sustain that with all the emotional toll? Now, Heather, I want to ask you one question when it comes to either your low point or a mistake or a leadership failure in the past. If you're willing to share an example or a story so that others can benefit from maybe what you've learned over your time in your own journey through leadership and life.
There have been many. When you're in a role and you're, as I said, I love change. That, a lot of my, I would say, failures have come about by, looking at large change and just not getting it quite right. Because of that, and some of this goes into my previous roles versus my current role, but where I've tried to shift a focus of a program, or refresh a program or revise it in a major way. So a significant programmatic redesign. I've done a number of those over my career. Some have worked and some have not worked. And I would say, the not working was really my own lack of engagement that happened. So, when you can never underestimate how much you need to engage when you're trying to enact a significant change, and the communication is so important. So the difference between checking the box and truly listening and understanding and being prepared to change. So I would say I had a few foibles when I would be like, yes, I have to meet with this group of physicians and this group of staff and this union and that union, and here's my blurb, and I've done the communication and the stakeholder engagement, and off we go. We're going to close a program, or we're going to change it dramatically. After having had a few of those fail, I've kind of, reflected on it and realized that what people were actually not pleased about was actually not that difficult to, incorporate into another model. So I'd actually listened and been prepared to not stick with the model, or, if it was a model of care change, if I, was prepared to actually flex on that, then everyone was going to win, including the patients. And of course, first and foremost, the patients. So, that was, a few years back. I would say that I had a few of those, maybe more 4, 5, 6 years back, that where I really got serious about having a major engagement and communication strategy about anything that we do. I'd say that's proven itself time over time. If you can do that piece really well, you get the outcome that you want. So a little less on how we get there, some generalities about the place that you want to be. So I would say, some of the most successful changes that we've done are when I can articulate what the vision is at the end point, but not prescribing the other parts. That's hard to do, because sometimes you get to your vision from the parts, the pieces, but it's describing, almost in a narrative what you want it to look like and feel like from a patient perspective, from a provider perspective, from the health system perspective. If you can really articulate that vision in a way that's very accessible for people, everybody wants to do the right thing. Everybody comes to work, I believe, to do their absolute best, and you'll get the outcome that you want. It's just not in the way that you had necessarily thought of it. So that's been like a major, I guess, a breakthrough for me. And I'm constantly, I would say it's a work that I always do about creating that compelling future state for people, to get people to align and be excited and committed and passionate about what that future state can be. And then change just happens. I mean, it does almost, it just really does happen when you get that done well.
Right. Yeah, that's such a great point. It's about articulating your end point, your vision, and then allowing your team and everyone else to come together, buy into that vision, and then support your work. You don't need to know how exactly you're going to get there. You'll figure it out as long as you know where you want to go.
Depending on where you kind of grew up in the health system. So I grew up in, operations. My roles have been quite operational. So that for me is a hard thing to do, to let go of the how we get there. I sort of really had to work on that with respect to letting it go.